Hi again. So this is Shri. I've been doing the classes for 2 or 3 weeks now. So today we are going to see, how to be parents and how to manage kids in the kitchen, even if you don't, if you don't have kids, or, if they're not at your place, like if you have grandkids or niece, nephew, this would be helpful for anyone. And even say if you're someone who's like babysitting kids and they want to, like do something in the kitchen, you can do this along with them. So this would be a very good opportunity to learn um, how to handle kids in the kitchen and what can they do and what they can't do in the kitchen. Uh, so again, Shilia did explain some housekeeping, but then just please make sure you mute your microphone, and then you can ask me. You can, if you have any questions, you can stop and ask me questions, or you can also, like put it on chat. Shilia will actually translate. Let me know, and then there's going to be a small survey, which is going to be like a 1-question survey before we start. So okay, so you can either say yes or no in the chat, or just give me the answer. So do you think a snack should contain at least 3 of the food groups? Give me a yes or no. So I hope you know what the food groups are. We'll anyway talk about it. So it's going to be protein, grains, fruits, vegetables, and dairy. Do you think a snack should contain 3 food groups? I'm just going to go to the chat. Shalia, can you please tell me if I know you give me a thumbs up.
Joseph said yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Can be a yes or no. Should a snack contain at least 3 food groups?
Mary said yes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll see how a snack should be. I'm going to ask the same question, and then probably in the end you'll know, or maybe in the next slide. So, okay. So before we begin, a balanced, nutritious meal should contain, at least 3 out of 5 food groups. That's the same, that it applies for the snack as well. And so we kind of, even for holidays or just in general, a balanced meal or a healthy eating plate, take the My Plate version, would, like recommend the 3 food groups at least. So with building a healthy eating style, with the My Plate, you can see here is an example of the My Plate. This is basically the prettier version, like the realistic version of the My Plate that we see in food labels. So you can see fruits, the plate is filled half, half filled with fruits and vegetables, and we have whole grain, and then we have a protein source. And again, protein source can also be, plant protein, and it need not just be animal protein. So, so what are some components of My Plate? So find your healthy eating style and maintain it for a lifetime. So you can either portion out in a similar way, or you can also mix and match, like eat it as a salad, like there is quinoa barbel, so that is also kind of My Plate version. So you can mix them, or you can also eat it separately. So it's important that you identify what suits you and what you like. And make half your plate fruits and vegetables. It is important to vary your vegetables, and it is also important to focus on whole fruits instead of fruit juices, because sometimes fruit juices can have sugars in them. And then as an added sugars, and then make half your grains whole grains, because we have seen in the previous classes how whole grains contain more fiber compared to the regular grains. So it is important you take whole grains. And you can either move to low fat or no fat, like fat free milk or yogurt. It is definitely up to you. If you want to reduce the number of calories, you can definitely do move towards fat free or low fat milk or yogurt. And then it is important to vary your protein source. As I mentioned, eating eating plant protein is as important as eating animal protein. And then it is important to also make small changes. So if you're someone who's like used to consuming refined grains, you need not immediately shift to whole grains. Probably say if you consume grains 5 days a week, you can definitely start trying at least 2 or 3 days. So that way, psychologically, you don't feel like you're actually, eating something very new. So what it means to be parents in the kitchen, or it can also be like adults in the kitchen. So in this presentation, we'll see what that means and ways that children benefit from cooking, how cooking is not only, cooking is a life skill, but then there are also other things that comes out of cooking, especially for kids. Exploring the kitchen in a fun, interactive way, and safe, age-appropriate cooking, and how to decide if a recipe is appropriate, and how to teach your children what's in season. So what it means to be parents in the kitchen, again, it's important to be safe. It's not only for children, but also for adults. So everyone's safety should be a priority, especially the child or your children. And it is important to be happy, encouraging, and patient, because cooking is something that you learn over time. You're not born with this skill. Rolling back, I know how bad of a cook I was when I was a kid or even a teenager, but then I've learned to be patient. So it is important you teach your kid that as well. And then the kitchen is going to get messy. So you can't, even for adults who are just starting to cook or who are just learning, they make a mess. So there's no exception for children. So they are going to make a mess. It's okay if they don't make a mess, but then, be calm, expect that when you just enter the kitchen. And keep cooking activities fun and age appropriate, and choose age appropriate recipes, because it is important to keep the attention of the child. Say if you're making something, that's going to go for an hour or two, if the kid is not really in it, because their attention is maybe say 20 or 30 minutes and they can't focus more than that. So it is important to keep the recipes, choose age appropriate recipes. And you can also prepare ahead whenever necessary, because sometimes when you kind of simultaneously do things, you might not be able to concentrate on the child when they're doing something else. So it's important to actually do some preparation ahead if necessary. If not, that's completely fine. And then it is also important to teach the different terms that applies, in cooking, say the difference between stirring and mashing, and then identifying similar but different items like a spatula and whisk. And it's important to let them know about the function too. And allowing children to choose their own produce. So this way they kind of know, like they have the autonomy to choose something. And broccoli and cauliflower is healthy. So it's okay if they choose either, or you don't have to, force them to choose something. So this will give them the autonomy, and it will definitely boost the confidence in both eating and cooking the food. And don't get upset, be resilient. So you should always have a backup plan when you're cooking with kids, because sometimes it's okay, not, just like life, sometimes it's okay to mess things up. We should just have a backup plan, or just go ahead and do something else. So but you can definitely praise them for their efforts, and also sometimes if they're teenagers, you can tell them how they could have done a certain things better. So but first give them the praise, so that is really important, and that will actually open their ears to what they can do different the next time. Next, cooking is a beneficial skill, as we all know, but then it also improves and helps increase the academic, cognitive, and motor skills in the kids. So each time a child helps prepare a meal, they are also preparing for success in school and in life. So some of the ways that it can help is it increases language development, because again, it's going to be different cuisine that you're going to try. It's going to be different. The vocabulary is going to improve. It's going to enhance fine motor skills. It increases the math ability. Say there's a pizza, like you're portioning out the pizza. So it's just simple math, or it can also be something complicated as your grocery bill. And it improves reading skills, and it also, cooking is entirely scientific. So there's going to be some skill out of experience that you gain, but also cooking is purely science. So they're going to read and learn a lot of scientific concepts, and it teaches life skill. Say if you mess something up, it's okay. Like you can always do better the next time. It promotes healthy eating. So for someone, there are two types of people. I think I'm the second type. I know certain people, they actually like to eat what they cook. But I am someone who actually, with the aroma and everything, I would be so full that I don't want to eat it, at least at that moment. But again, cooking at home would promote healthy eating, because I know I always cook at home, and I just hate I love eating outside, but not on a regular basis. I can do it probably a day or two. That's all. But I need the home food, like, home cooked food. So that is really important. And it boosts self-confidence, because say once you perfect a recipe, you can definitely go for another complicated one. And then it encourages family bonding. This can definitely be an activity that you do with your kids on holidays, or any day for that matter. So these are some of the equipments that the kids can learn. So pitcher, skillet, whisk, measuring spoons, grater, cutting board, mixing bowl, food processor, blender, rolling pin, measuring cup, slotted spatula, and rubber spatula. So I think this is this is the slotted spatula, and this is the rubber spatula. So it's even if you don't have all of this, you can definitely pick and choose whichever you have in the kitchen, and whatever you have in the kitchen. And these are some basic equipments that a kitchen might require. So that's why we have all this up. And then this can also be a fun activity where you teach the science and also the difference behind these processes. Say freezing, you can tell them how freezing happens: grating, melting, chopping, pouring, whipping, boiling, slicing, stirring, adding, spreading, and baking. So you can tell them these are some of the things that they would actually see in a recipe, or if they read a cookbook, or like just science. So you can also tell them what equipments they can use for these processes in the kitchen. And how can you know if a recipe or a kitchen activity is appropriate for your child or your children? So these are some age-specific activities. So at age 2, that's when they start developing the motor skills, so they can wipe tables, they can hand items to adults to put them away, they can place some things in trash, which is also important, and they can tear like soft lettuce or greens and rinse vegetables or fruits. It is important to teach them from the young age that you have to rinse the vegetables and fruits. And then snap green beans, bring joy to the kitchen. Kids, and help read a cookbook by turning pages, make faces out of pieces of fruits and vegetables. So these can be some fun activities that you can do with 2-year-olds. So with 3-year-olds, you can do everything that you do with 2-year-olds, and also add some ingredients, and you can talk about the process, and you can scoop or mash potatoes, squeeze citrus fruits, stir pancake batter, knead or shape the dough, name and count foods, help assemble the pizza. So these can be something, a few things that a 3-year-old can do. And with 4, they can peel eggs and some fruits, set the table. They can crack eggs, help measure dry ingredients, help make sandwiches, help make salads, and help some with cleanup. So if you see, how the sandwiches and salads, they're very healthy, right? So while you're making them, you can also talk to them about the importance of the food groups and how all of the food groups should be present. I'm sure they'll start learning, a bit if they go to school at that age. So you can definitely talk to them about it. And 5 to 7, they can do everything age 4 can do, plus they can mix dry ingredients, which will, wet ingredients might make a big mess and it might be difficult to clean, but dry ingredients can be a bit comparatively easier, and they can measure and count items. They can set the table, which is a very important skill, and they can crack eggs. You can also teach them how to pick the shells if the shells fall in, and they can roll cookie dough or meat into balls, chop softer fruits and vegetables. There are the kids' knife that's there, so you can definitely give them that, and they can also read aloud recipe steps. And age 8 to 12, everything that age 5 to 7 can do, plus they can peel vegetables. So this is when they're trying to, think of different things. They start noticing what their friends are bringing at school. So you can definitely encourage them to try a few things. You can let them do some things and you can just watch, or you can also do it together. So they can toast bread, make sandwiches, wash and put away dishes, which is very, 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 very important once you cook. And then make their school lunch, unload groceries, mix up a simple batter on their own, maybe for muffins or pancake, something like that. So teenage. So this is when they want to take interest in the kitchen, and they want to feel like they're part of the process. So they can make recipes on stovetop. Just tell them the safety precautions that they have to, that they have to take, and then bake on their own, use sharp knives safely, and then learn to use various kitchen gadgets like, say, food processor or a blender, have full reign over the microwave. It's easy, simple, but again, they have to be careful. Teach teens some fun cooking, like making ice cream or pie crust with cereal crumbs, and teach basic cleaning skills. Again, dishes and cleaning. It's always important to leave the place as you found. Let it be, it is the same activity, but then with cooking, it's really important. With teens, do not underestimate their skills, because they might learn a lot of things outside of your home. So they would want to experiment it. So you can all, depending on the child, you can also recommend someone to be in the house. Again, it's very individualistic, and praise what they do right more often than point out what they do incorrectly. Again, this is important because this would actually boost their motivation. So I know a few moms would actually, love to keep their kitchen very neat and tidy, and they would not allow their kid to actually use the kitchen. I've heard a lot of kids complain about that, but then it's okay. Like, you can definitely go back and clean, or you can clean together, but it's important that they start and experiment at that age, so that they don't once they become an adult, they don't think that cooking is it's a big work. Sometimes it can be when you don't do the appropriate preparation, but again, it's important to let your child know that you have to cook on a regular basis, like eat home cooked food in order to avoid the processed food from outside, and encourage them to clean up. So with the recipes, how can you go about choosing a recipe when you cook along with the child? So you can see first if it's healthy and does it include nutrient dense ingredients. So again, when we say nutrient dense, it's the small portion that actually makes you full. So it is important to realize that. And then does it include vegetables? Not only vegetables, but all food groups for that matter. And does it include any ingredient that are too expensive or likely to cause an allergic reaction? So it's important, once you know your kids are allergic to it, this is the time where you can also teach them how to read a label. So this can be very, very, helpful if they are allergic to something. And then if they go outside and eat something that's packed, they can definitely read a label and find out, hey, I'm allergic to this, so I'm not supposed to eat it. And is it high in unhealthy fats, salt, or sugar? Again, label reading is very important. So you can also start doing that along with the child. And will it take too long? Will it capture and hold your child's attention? Again, their attention is going to be very, very less compared to adults who actually want to do stuff. So make sure you choose something that's not so intense for the kids. And does it have too many steps? Is it labor intensive? Again, it's the same thing. And does it have any steps your child or children can do on their own? If they can do it, you can definitely let them do it and watch, or you can also help them do it. But make sure to pick and choose a recipe that they can also participate in, because sometimes just watching is not fun. Cooking along is actually fun. And then does it require kitchen equipment, tools, or utensils that you don't have? So if you don't have, teach them how to substitute things, but at the same time, say if your recipe requires 10 utensils and you don't have 8 of them, I would not recommend going for it. Say if you just don't have 4 or 3 or 4 of them, that's completely fine. You can teach them how to substitute it. But then with kids, they would like to do things as is. So yeah. Does it require steps like cutting or frying that are unsafe for your child or children? Again, you can definitely prep them, but then say, as I mentioned, if you're doing it and also concentrating on your child, sometimes it might not be possible. So it's important you just do one thing. And then do you have everything you need to make the recipe? Again, this is important, as an ingredients wise. And then does this recipe have the potential to be added to your family menu rotation? So say if you're someone who goes by weekly menus, so see if you can add this, and how you can actually, like, say if you did something that's like 75% okay, if you add this to your family menu, see if you can make it 100% the next time with your kids. So that way they kind of know that they can go and try it again. So some of the recipes that you can do for the holiday can be Santa hats, holiday wreath, and twisted guacamole with your child. So these can be something. This can be something very interesting for your kids as well. Just a moment. Yes. So now we're actually going to go ahead and do a recipe. So I'm sorry I did not send the recipe because it was holidays and I kind of got, it kind of got mixed up. But today we're going to actually do a pumpkin pie oatmeal. So it's very simple, very easy. You can also let your kids, participate in this. Actually, I'm just going to bring it closer.
And we will send this recipe out afterwards.
Yes.
You'll get it in the next day or two.
So the recipe actually calls for milk, but then today we're going to go with oats. So the recipe actually has milk. So I'm going to go with water. Sorry, it's going to be water and oats instead of milk and oats, but you can also use milk. And this is going to be old-fashioned oats. So this is whole oats. It's 100% grain. So we have a grain. And then this is going to be walnuts and cranberries, but I have raisins here. So we're going to also use this. And this is going to be the pumpkin puree that I'm going to use. And this is going to be spice, pumpkin spice and cinnamon. And there is some honey. So I'm actually heating up the water. So it's going to get warm.
Sure. While you're getting that ready, I just want to make a comment that if you have a recipe like what you have and you don't have the exact ingredients, it's fine. Like you've just substituted with something else. So it's never a reason not to make a recipe because you can usually find something else to throw in.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a very good point. Say, for example, if you don't have one of the spices, you can definitely substitute it. Again, it depends on what the main ingredient of the recipe is. So say you're making oatmeal, you can make it with rice. So it is important to actually kind of know, say, for example, here I've substituted, raisins instead of cranberries. You can also do almonds. If you don't have almonds, you can do walnuts. You can do, if you don't have walnuts, you can do almonds. So you can definitely substitute things. Say if you take a smoothie instead of milk, you can go for, yogurt. So you can do different things. You can definitely substitute different fruits as well. So yeah, it's completely up to you, but this make sure you have the main ingredients that's required. But other than that, you're actually, covered. So here we have our water that's boiling. So I'm going to let it boil for maybe another minute and add a cup of oats. So there are different kinds of oats. So while the water boils, I'll actually tell you what are, the different kinds of oats. So basically, there are quick oats, there are whole oats, and there are actually the not the grits, but then the grains, steel cut oats. So basically, that's the fiber is the difference between the three. So we always recommend going for whole oats, and whole oats is nothing but rolled oats. So they take the grain and then they press it. So that way it becomes, the pressed oats, but it's called rolled oats. So basically it becomes the rolled oats. So the whole oats and rolled oats are the common version that you see. Quick oats are nothing but the brand, like the brand that comes out of the process. And so it does contain some nutrients, but then mostly it's going to be carbs. Whereas if you take, oats, it has protein, it has good amount of fiber. So that is really important. And then the grains are the other version. It's probably the healthiest because it's going to contain a lot of fiber and it's also grains. So we get our whole grains that way. So that's the difference. So if next time when you go grocery shopping and you see quick oats, whole oats and grain, steel cut oats. So steel cut oats is the grain, but they just cut the ends, so that they don't prick. That's why they cut the ends. So you can actually go for the rolled oats or whole oats or the grains. So water is definitely boiling. Just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to add oats to it. I'm just adding a cup because it's just going to be me. So you can let this boil for maybe say 3 minutes. Again, so you can it's totally up to you. You can use you can cook the oats. I personally don't like cooking the oats because it kind of becomes starchy. I usually go for overnight oats. So I soak them overnight in milk, regular milk or almond milk or water. And then the next day morning, I kind of wake up and add fruits and nuts to it. You can also do that, or for this recipe, you can soak it overnight and then just add the pumpkin puree and other things that we're going to add. So letting it cook. Do you have any questions so far? Any questions, comments, suggestions?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you go over the types of oatmeal again?
Sure. So there are 3 types of oats that we commonly see. So it's going to be quick oats. So it's basically nothing but the last piece that actually comes out of the process. So it's usually powdery, and we don't usually suggest taking it because it does not contain all of the nutrients that oats might contain. But then when you take rolled oats or whole oats, it's going to be the grain. They're going to just press the grain. So there's no loss of nutrients. And then steel cut oats are nothing but they usually cut the ends of the grain. So you do know how the grain looks, right? So they just cut the ends of the grain and they press it for rolled or whole oats. So we recommend taking whole oats or rolled oats or the steel cut oats because they contain fiber and other nutrients that comes out of the oats basically. And quick oats are not recommended to a lot because again it's a difference between the refined grain and the whole grain. It's the quick oats are just going to contain carbs and starch, whereas the other things are going to contain a lot more nutrients that is required. So that's why next time when you go grocery shopping, make sure the label says it's whole oats or steel cut oats. Again, if you're someone who's allergic to gluten, so oats are gluten free, but there are particular types of oats. So the label, the packet, the oats packet should say it's certified gluten free. That's how you know those oats are gluten free. Not all oats are gluten free. The packet has to say. So that is some additional information about oats. I hope that answered your questions.
So if you microwave the oatmeal, it's not really good for you.
It's not good, but then it's going to become starchy. So
Okay.
if you don't want the starchiness of the oats, you can soak them overnight. So the one reason why I cook oats is because it's very hard, right? So if you soak them overnight, it's going to become soft. It's easier. I've never cooked oats in my life. Probably this is the first time I'm cooking it. So I always, soak them overnight. But then this recipe calls for it. But you can soak them overnight.
Thank you.
Of course. So yeah, our the oats is kind of looks cooked. So what I'm going to do is turn this off.
Joseph, you said, what if you don't have milk? or water. Well, you have water if you're in the kitchen. So you should always have a little water. But could you substitute something else if you didn't want to use milk or water?
I mean, I don't think juice would be a good way to substitute. So I think I would definitely think that people would have water in their kitchen. So yeah, water or milk or any, you know, like dairy-free milk can also be an option. But you can also do yogurt if you have yogurt. So that can be another option. But if
My
you have
room-
any ideas, I would be happy to hear them.
My roommate uses orange juice in her cereal.
Oh, that's
Gross.
different. So I'm mixing the pumpkin puree.
So Shri, in this recipe, when do you know it's time to put the pumpkin in?
The pumpkin in it.
Yes.
So you do, I do see the oat grains have become softer. So once you know that the oat grains are softer, you can go ahead and add the pumpkin in it. So the oats, I think that's like one good thing with oats. They kind of cook easily. So once you see that the water level, because in mine, I saw the water level went down. So that was also one of the cues. And I also saw that the grains actually became softer. So that way, you know, I kind of added the pumpkin. That's why I turned off the heat. So I did not add the pumpkin with the heat. So I turned off the heat and then I added the pumpkin to it. And I'm going to transfer this in a bowl.
Now, Shri, is this, Cindy had mentioned that oats aren't necessarily good for you, as good for you if you microwave them. Is this something that you could make like 2 or 3 servings and then heat them up morning, you know, each morning? So you wouldn't have to do
Yes,
the
you
full
can
cooking?
definitely store, you know, oatmeal for say 2 or 3 days. So yes, you can definitely microwave them and you can let them cool, like let them come to the room temperature and then store them in the you know, fridge and probably use it for 2 or 3 days. But again, it depends on what you're adding. Because say if I added milk to it, I wouldn't let it sit for a long time. Maybe water will hold good for 3 days. But yeah, I wouldn't go more than, you know, 2 or 3 days if you're actually refrigerating it. So I added pumpkin spice to it, and I'm also adding cinnamon. That's a lot of cinnamon. And then I'm just, so I could have mixed it in the, actually that's what I'm going to do. I want to mix it here because the bowl is not.
That smells good. In my mind, I'm smelling that cinnamon.
No, it really does smell good. And then I'm adding some honey to it, but it's totally up to you if you want to add honey or if you like your oats not sweet. Or you can just add fruits. So that can be another way. It really smells good. This to a bowl. I think I know what my breakfast is for tomorrow.
So Shri, I have a question.
Yes.
So with this recipe, could you put this in the bottom of a baking dish, spray the baking dish, put it in the bottom, and bake it for a little bit and then maybe put on fresh fruit or something like that to have make a tart, yogurt and then fresh fruit?
So with baking, I think the oats, if you actually added, say, milk or, water, I'm not sure how baking actually works with the oats. I've never actually baked with the oats. But then I know if you bake just oats, it'll be toasted. So, and because it's, say, the grain, it's very, very thin. So I'm sure it'll actually burn. I don't know if you can see, but it's very thin. So it'll burn if you bake. But I'm not sure if you can bake along with milk and milk or water. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it's given me a challenge.
Okay. So now I'm adding the walnuts and raisins. I'm basically topping it with fruits and nuts.
Can you go over the nutrition value of walnuts?
So, okay, walnuts are actually very good for your brain. So they contain the essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6. And if you see, the walnuts actually look like brain. So it is very important you take omega-3 and omega-6 fats because they're the healthy version of fats. So you can consume it as snack, and they also have good amount of fiber in it. So it is a very good, we usually recommend to take it before bed, but again, it can be, it can be taken any time during the day, and you can add it to salads, you can add it to your smoothies, you can bake with walnuts, or you can actually, they are pretty flexible. You can add them to anything. So this way you boost your omega-3, omega-6, and also fiber content. And it's really good for brain health. So this is how it looks.